What about Buck?
Hey everybody, welcome to Too Much CGI. My name is Bill on a brand new microphone. Scott, how you doing, buddy?
Still on an old microphone, but I can see clearly now the rain is gone.
Oh yeah, the rain here sucked.
Holy shit. Like it was like 5 straight days of nothing but rain.
Now everything is just sloshy.
Soggy, squish. Everywhere you walk, you squish. But I'll tell you what, man, I saw the sun today and it made me feel a whole lot better. I'm off my really hyper-productive, maybe manic kick I had going on for a while. Still getting shit done, but not nearly as efficiently.
Well, I'm getting shit done too. I finally upgraded my sound system. I had it with the last. We've complained on this show about how fucked up this technology we use can be sometimes. So if you heard the last episode and you didn't notice any change in sound, you're probably like everybody who listens to the show. But me, who just nothing is perfect enough, I couldn't stand it. So I'm listening to it. I'm like, why am I so digital? So I sent it to you. You do the first pass. You're like, yeah, you sound like the gain is all fucked up. And what did you say right before we started? You said it sounded a certain way.
It sounded like a random microphone sitting in your corner just picked up the audio, and that's what you sent me, because it was real hollow. It would sound like you were talking like in a real empty room, which is normally not the sound you give. And yeah, I usually think you're neurotic about the sound, but as I was listening back to this past week's show, I was like, this hurts to listen to a little bit.
Yeah, scared people away. I saw all our data was like, suggested that everybody left after 3 minutes.
The Estonians are sick of this bullshit. The Estonians demand quality sound, and you're not giving it to them. They're going back to where they were.
They do. I know one thing about Estonia. They are audiophiles over there. Well, I did it for you, Estonia. I went and I bought well, let me explain. So what's going on with this technology? Because I do think it's pretty interesting. We've talked about it before, but I'll bring it up again. So basically, Scott, and I don't know why we don't do this. We live 10 minutes away from each other. But Scott lives in another home. I live here, and we're so lazy we don't get together. We do it through the internet. We use a company called Riverside. And Riverside has this cool technology. They're not the only one that does it, but they have this cool technology that allows us to basically do a Zoom recording. And what happens in Zoom, actual Zoom calls, is as you're speaking to somebody, it's going right out of your mouth into the microphone up to the internet. And then it gets, turned around in a server and then sent to the recipient. And it happens so fast, you know how this works. It's the internet. Well, what this technology does is not only does it do that and sends a thin digital, sounds a little gainy signal. See where I'm going? It sends that up, and that's what you hear as we talk. But what it's supposed to do is download my actual recording straight from my microphone onto my hard drive, and that's what it gives us through the portal. And I had no idea why it sounded so bad. And then I heard a few times where I talked or you talked, or it was one of us talked over each other. The louder voice squashed the other.
Yeah.
And that's the giveaway. That's how I knew that somehow Riverside gave us the wrong file. Maybe they had software glitch on their end. I don't know. But I made it sound as good as I could. And then I said, all right, I'm finally going to figure out how the pros do it. I got to know how my man, Jason Bateman, does it. So pretty much they're using analog equipment. Maybe they have a DI box, but maybe they're just recording through a mixer into a, like I'm doing right now. I just have a Zoom R6 or 6R digital recorder, and then I'm going to take this file and then upload it into the mix and yada yada. That's all it is. But the mic that I got, I went to Joe Rogan's website. I was like, what does he use?
Oh no.
And he sounded good. I went to some other websites. I was listening to their voice. I was like, I'm listening to everybody's voice. Every man who's got like a lower voice, because I've got this deeper voice. It doesn't work on that like tinny digital way that it sounded. So drives me nuts. So now I'm on the Joe Rogan mic. It's really the SM7B. So it's a Shure SM7B. It's supposed to be just one of the most popular podcast mics. So it'll be interesting to see if people like the way I sound better.
Or if they even give a shit.
Yeah, maybe they won't even notice, and all of this is just putting my mind at ease, which is probably what this is.
This is in your head. Welcome to Bill's Neuroses.
Oh, I've been studying. I don't talk about it much on the show, but because I don't think anybody would be interested. But I'm really getting into mixing music and doing all that stuff. I watch so many videos on how to do the littlest things with compression that Most people can't even hear. And I'm like, why am I doing this to myself?
Are you watching Dr. Mix?
I'm watching Dr. Mix. That was an amazing recommendation. Holy hell, I watched him forever. I think I watched...
He's entertaining.
He puts a lot of time into his videos. Holy shit.
Damn. So aside from Dr. Mix, what else are you watching?
Well, there's tons of musician shit, but there is some other things that I have here in the agenda that kind of dropped, and I was like, whoa, I didn't know about them. Usually I know when something's coming out. 2 things dropped that I didn't know anything about, and I wanted to share it with you guys. Did you catch The Spider Within?
No.
All of a sudden, Sony puts out a Spider-Verse story. So this is a Miles Morales Spider-Verse little 5-minute, 10-minute short.
Oh.
Yeah, and it just came out of nowhere. The Spider Within. And it's a little story of Miles Morales, and he's struggling with some mental health stuff. And, you know, I won't spoil it anymore, but it was just nice. Like, oh, that's cool.
Was this dropped on Max or YouTube, or where did they drop this?
YouTube.
YouTube. Wow.
Yeah. And it's got me wondering a little, because they were talking about this next one coming up had to get moved back a year.
Yeah.
They said it was just too much work. They had to push it back. So when did they have time to do this?
Well, maybe this is breadcrumbs just to keep people wanting. You know what I mean? Like, keep people on the line.
I was wondering if it was like, hey, sorry about Madam Web. Hey, sorry about Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Check this out. We've been holding this for just this reason.
Well, whatever the reason, I mean, I'm glad it's here.
They say when the other Marvel, right, the MCU, when Madam Web came out, was so just terribly bashed by everybody right away, they put out a notice about the Fantastic Four. It was like a little, hey, we got our cast. And a lot of people think they did that to make sure that the stink of Madam Web didn't, flow over to them. Today, I heard that they've actually cast somebody else for that movie. They cast the Silver Surfer.
Oh, yeah? Who's doing that?
They're turning her female. I think there was a version of a female Silver Surfer, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
So I think they're picking that story.
I mean, it's not the most popular version of that character, but there was a female version of the character, yes.
I never cared about that character.
I
All
didn't
that
either.
cosmic stuff, I was never that into.
Yeah, I mean, Galactus and even just the way he talked and his phrasing, I just never cared. You're right. It was too big. The Watcher, all that stuff.
Well, if you have the Silver Surfer in it, you probably have Galactus. Aren't those two, related in some way, connected in some way?
Well, he's the devourer of planets, right? And Silver Surfer was the defender of the galaxy.
I mean, we already saw how it worked out when they had superheroes who were so big that they were basically defending planets from each other, right? That Eternals movie was like that. Just too big. So now we're going to go that big again?
Yeah, we had the main villain of the Guardians of the Galaxy 2 actually was a planet.
Yeah. Oh, I hate that.
That was bad.
I hate that. I wanted Kurt Russell to be awesome, but I was like, you're a planet? That's dumb.
Dumb.
Like, some of that shit only works in the comics. I don't know what James Gunn was thinking there.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I know something else you're watching. You were checking out those pitch meetings that I sent you on YouTube.
What pitch meetings?
One where the guy plays both characters, the writer and the producer, and he pitches the meeting, and it...
Oh, yeah. The comedies, that was good.
Yeah.
That was funny.
He did one for, you mentioned Frozen Empire already. He just did a new one here for the Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Hit a lot of the same points we hit. Really crammed a lot of characters into that. I thought that was really good, so I sent that your way. But also the Jurassic World, how you said you hated Jurassic World, and his take on that was pretty fucking spot on, too.
Yeah. We need a dinosaur that's bigger than all of them. Make a super dinosaur. Put a big S on his chest. Well, that's a really bad idea. Doesn't matter. We want it. Like, he kind of plays, what that conversation could be with dumb producers and dumb money people who aren't creatives. Yeah, that was pretty good. What was the name of it again?
Yeah, he's at pitch meetings on YouTube. A guy named Ryan George. It's kind of like a one-man show, and his editing's funny. He has funny takes. One thing I liked was when he always starts off, he's like, so you got a new Ghostbusters movie for me? He's like, yes, sir, I do. And he's like, I can't wait to watch these guys bust some ghosts. And he's like, yeah, and you will. Once in the beginning and once at the end and never in between. He's like, we should get more ghosts in there. He's like, well, I got a lot of characters in here. I really crammed them in here. They're like Yeah, but you put the characters in there. Yeah, but you're barely going to get a whiff of either of them. They're just there kind of for nostalgia. But like his take was so spot on to what we were talking about last week for the Ghostbusters.
It was a far better recanting of what actually happened on that episode. Thank you.
Yeah, his points were more concise and maybe better delivered than ours were, but the spirit was very much there.
I got to tell you, the more I watch YouTube, and I've been saying, I see TV going away, like major networks just vanishing for the streaming channels and for all this amazing YouTube content. The stuff I'm seeing is just getting better and better.
Yeah.
The editing is getting better. The effects are getting better. Like, you guys are just content creators talking about little things, and I'm fascinated. Like, you're all becoming good performers on air. Not all of them. Let me pull back a little bit. But I'm just like, wow, I can't. Even the guy Minty we talk about, who, you don't listen to us. When I first started listening to him, I used to laugh at how poor that thing was. And like, even he's figuring out how to be a good YouTuber.
Yeah.
They're really studying this stuff and putting out some quality things in the pop culture YouTube space.
Yeah. I mean, I still think about the crazy shit that, what's it, Justin Rolfe over there, Angry Video Game Nerd?
Yeah.
The shit he does over on Cinemassacre, like production quality. I mean, he went to art school, he went to film school, I guess. Like, he basically makes his own B-movie horror movies and shit like that. And it's funny. It's good content.
So I just lost an amazing employee that I had for a very long time. He became a big YouTuber. So he is a tech guy. He fell in love with getting really old computers, old Macs, like things I don't even remember. And then he'd make an episode about, could I run Pac-Man on this old thing? Could I run Windows 95 on this old thing? Like whatever experiment he was trying to do, he'd film it. And the channel just grew because that's kind of interesting to a certain group of people. Next thing you know, you see, hundreds of thousands of people watching his shit. I'm like, well, we're going to be losing him pretty soon.
That's wild.
For anyone who wants to know, the show is called Action Retro on YouTube. And Sean Malseed, wish you well, buddy. But it's like, he does a great job. So the show grew.
Cool. Well, let's take this show to YouTube, Bill.
You ready? You think it's time?
Why not?
Why not? Let's talk about that. We just did.
Decision made.
Coming soon, everybody, once we learn how to edit video.
With spring being upon us, the only thing I'm watching is Phillies baseball. So every night I'm pretty much watching the game.
Well, we may have something for you with the second drop that I was telling you about that I wasn't expecting. And I don't even know if you know about it because it just came out today, I think. Tales of the Empire, the new Disney Plus animated show.
Yeah, I knew this was coming.
Trailer's out.
I haven't watched it yet, but still watching Bad Batch. But again, whatever.
I really watched this trailer. I got about 5 seconds in and I just said, I don't care. Yeah, I'm sad to say I am done. And at the end of this trailer, the payoff at the end of the trailer was so predictable. Go watch the trailer.
I haven't watched it yet, but I'll check it out.
I'd like to know what you think of this because it goes to the area that you don't like, but maybe because of the time of this show, it might actually be something you like. But all of this period of this Star Wars, I hate it all. I get so bored of it. So bored of it. And then I get mad because Boba Fett got wasted. Like, I'm never going to get a better Boba Fett story.
When did he get killed?
Oh, he didn't get killed. He got wasted in that stupid, let's turn him into the governor of Tatooine.
You mean his character and the character arc just went to shit because he had his own series and they pissed it away?
Yeah.
I got you. Okay. I think when you say he got wasted, I was like, wait a minute. That's not how that ended. What are you talking about?
He's drinking Jack Daniels, sloshing around like we were in Nashville.
Oh, good times.
Oh, I got a what are you watching? I'm looking at the list here. Somehow, it says, since I wrote it, somehow I'm enjoying this X-Men cartoon now. X-Men 97.
Yeah, I watched the first two.
However, only stoned. Only stoned. The other day, I was watching a bunch of them. I was like, this is fucking good. I was completely sucked in. There's like some kind of love affair going on. There's some kind of fight with Jean Grey's kid. Like, I'm like, whoa. I'm all stoned, like watching this like a freaking soap opera.
So I watched the first two episodes. I don't know if I mentioned that on air or not before, but yeah, with the first time they came out, they dropped the first two, and I watched them, and then I was like, oh, this could go somewhere, but the voices were off. Like that kind of didn't sit well with me. But then the other thing they did when they dropped X-Men 97, they also dropped all the other X-Men animated series. So I went back and started watching them, and I was like, you know what? I don't think I like this anymore. Like, I liked it back then, but this whole thing was banked on my nostalgia for that. And I watched it and I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. But then I went back and I watched it and I was like, you know what? I don't like that. So I'm out.
That's it. I'm out of here.
That was my first thought. It doesn't feel like it did back in 97. And because of that, I think I started to like it when I started to accept it. It really is something different.
Yeah, sure.
I don't remember these melodramatic storylines and stories about teen angst.
Yeah.
It's all sorts of things like that. Story about families being torn apart, family handling death.
No, see, that's always been there because, like, Jubilee was always like the pouty teen, and Rogue was always, I was taken from my family, and even Gambit was like angsty and shit like that. So that was always there. There were always traits there.
Oh, all right.
And even Wolverine's whole thing was like, I'm grumpy and brooding because I can't have Jean Grey, and Scott Summers is perfect. Yeah. I never did like Cyclops, probably because of that cartoon. He was a pompous asshole.
He is in this too.
I know.
Come to me, my X-Men.
Yeah, that was
Your
the
X-Men.
worst. That was the fucking worst. All I could think of was, now X-Men, welcome to die.
X-Men, welcome to die.
You're gonna love the latest episode.
Really?
Trust me, just on that reference. We'll talk about it next week.
All right, I'll have to check it out, I guess.
Yeah, you got to catch up with at least the 4th episode.
The real question is, will I enjoy it sober?
No. All right, moving along a little bit more on this agenda. We got a comment on one of our videos. We're moving to the mailbag segment.
Mail, motherfucker.
So we put out a few videos to try to generate some interest over there on that YouTube thing, And we made, the Gremlins video? We made a video about...
Crispin Glover?
Yep, and I'm making one now about Cheech and Chong. It's just about to go up.
Right. Chevy Chase was a big hit.
So Chevy Chase, there was a comment on there. A comment from someone named N.W. Nelson 66. All right? It seems to run in the family, he says. His grandfather was Captain Miles Browning, one of the most disliked officers of World War II. In 1944, he was removed from command. So I'm like, whoa, that's kind of interesting. So we know that Chevy Chase is a little bit of a dick. Maybe his father was a little bit of a dick. So I went down a rabbit hole, and sure enough, this is fucking true.
Wow.
This guy was like, he was a total asshole. Nobody liked him. He would start fights. Here, I got some notes on him. I literally had this conversation with ChatGPT. So I said, what can you tell me about this? And I look, he's got a Wikipedia page. I said, what can you tell me about this page? It says, Miles Rutherford Browning was a key figure in the U.S. Navy during both World Wars, known for his pioneering work in aircraft carrier operations and aggressive aerial warfare tactics. Aggressive aerial, like he's Top Gun, right?
Yeah.
He's Maverick. His strategic contributions were particularly, never been good with that word, particularly.
You've never been particularly good?
Never. All right. Now I'm also not good at contributions. Were particularly notable at the Pacific Theater during World War II. I like that they call it theater.
Yeah.
I always like that too. Anyway, so they go on. Browning's career was marked with controversies, including his removal from command. He passed away in 1954 and is buried at Arlington National Cemetery. So I say, what was the controversy? Well, Browning's removal from command in 1944, according to ChatGPT, was controversial, stemming from an incident where he refused to lower a boat to rescue drowning sailors, among other leadership issues. His aggressive demeanor and personal scandals, including an affair, also affected his career. Despite his tactical brilliance, these controversies marred his reputation and impacted his professional standing in the Navy. I just wrote, did he get in the fights a lot? Miles Browning was known for his difficult personality and had a reputation for being hard to get along with. While specific instances of physical altercations are not detailed, his aggressive and often abrasive behavior caused tensions with colleagues and superiors, just like the set of Community. So they're talking about bringing that movie back, and I just read a article the other day. Yeah, he's definitely not getting invited back.
Really?
They will not have him back to Community.
That doesn't surprise me. Based upon things I've heard and read, of course not.
I wanted it so bad.
Being a dick genetic? I don't know. Where's the dickhead gene?
It's called the Chevy gene. I thought that was interesting. Looks like you own the next part of the agenda here, sir.
All right. This can kind of roll right off of mailbag because this main topic is actually a request. None other than your wife, sir. Amy asked that we do a Tim Curry focused main topic. And I told her I really don't know. No, I think of Tim Curry, I think of three things. What are the three things you think of?
Tim Curry. So right away, it's Rocky Horror Picture Show.
One,
It's Clue.
two.
And only because it's one of Amy's favorite movies and why I think... And by the way, why'd she say it to you and not me? She didn't ask me to do it. She asked you. She knows the message will get through if she sends it through you.
That might say more about you than it says about her.
Good point. The third one is Legend. She loves the monster, the darkness or whatever his name is. The
Darkness
big demon
was
with
his
the...
name. Yeah. I'm less familiar with that. My number 3 is It. Stephen King's It. But
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So I did a bit of a deep dive. I'll give a bit of a bio here for Tim Curry. I kind of went along with it. I know you said that you hate that we only remember famous people once they kick. Once they're off this mortal coil, that's when we always want to talk about them. I figured this would be a good opportunity to talk about somebody that's still here with us, still producing, doing a lot of voiceover work still to this day. So figure why not? Also, it didn't hurt that I had nothing else to talk about.
Well, there you go. Now, I've seen him recently. He doesn't look good.
He looks a lot different than what you would expect him to.
So what's he have?
He had a stroke.
Checking with Google real fast, Tim Curry, 67, recovering at home in L.A. after suffering a stroke. I don't see what date that is. Oh, 2022.
2020, yeah. I was going to say 2021, 2022. He did have a stroke.
So that's why, okay.
Yeah.
Oof.
But to take it back to the beginning, Timothy James Curry was born April 19th, 1946 in Cheshire, England. You know what his nickname was?
I'm going to guess the Cheshire Cat because of the way he could smile.
You are absolutely right.
Makes absolute sense. It's a trademark of his.
Really is, that smile. I hear Tim Curry, I see him smiling. Mother Maura, father James, mom was a school secretary, dad was actually a chaplain in the Royal Navy. So he was a religious man. Tim studied drama and English at Birmingham University, where he graduated with combined honors in both. Much of his acting career was on the stage. His first big production was in London's cast of the musical Hair.
Oh, hair pie.
But he also toured with the Royal Shakespeare Company, the Glasgow Citizens Repertory Company, and the Royal Court Theatre. And Royal Court Theatre is actually where Curry, and I did not know this, actually created the role of Dr. Frankenfooter in a show they had called The Rocky Horror Show.
I see you shiver with anticipation.
Of course, as we all know, Curry recreated and starred in that same role for the screen version, The Rocky Horror Picture Show, which we mentioned earlier. I had no idea that this started as a stage show and he created the whole character. It was really giving me vibes of when we did the Pee Wee Herman story where, Paul Reubens created Pee Wee while touring with the comedy troupe. Very much like that, Tim Curry created Frankenfurter while touring with this acting troupe.
Now, I always heard the guy who wrote Rocky Horror was Riff Raff. So did Riff Raff just go, hey, I like your character, I'm going to put him in?
I don't know how that relationship went, but I mean, it's on the internet. It got to be true. Tim Curry created this guy.
Gotta be true.
Gotta be.
Yeah.
Gotta be.
They don't lie. They don't lie on the web.
Well, Rocky Horror Picture Show was probably his most famous early work. It didn't always have the cult following that it has today. It wasn't like commercially or, critically received. So he continued to be a stage actor in both LA and on Broadway. He was in productions of The Pirates of Penzance, Amadeus, The Art of Success, and a whole bunch of other things that nobody that's listening to this show is going to know about.
Now, come on. I've just pulled up the list.
What do you got?
You don't think people are going to know about the miniseries Will Shakespeare?
No, this is just the stage stuff I'm talking about.
All right. Yeah, nobody would know that.
No, but on IMDb, he does have 242 different cited acting roles or credited acting roles. And as we said, from the beginning, Rocky Horror is the first one that comes to mind. I mean, that role of him as Dr. Frankenfurter and wearing the pantyhose and the garters and the whole thing. I mean, it's just such a Tim Curry role. Nobody else could have played that role.
So, come up to the lab and see what's on the slab.
And they have it listed here as his 8th listing. So one is a TV series. The rest maybe look like TV shows. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe this was his first movie. I'm going to guess, looking at this data, that this was his first movie, Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah. And then you'd mentioned too, 1985's Clue. Look at that, Barbie. You're not the first toy to have a movie named after you. Clue, I thought, was a fantastic movie. It's not remembered as well as what I think it should be, but the 3 different endings, it really was a great, well-acted, quirky cast. Christopher Lloyd's in there. There was a bunch of great actors in Clue, but Tim Curry as Mr. Body was just, again, a great central character that really tied the entire cast together.
Wasn't that guy Martin Mull in it?
Martin Mull was there. He was Mr. Blue.
So it says here on IMDb, it's been 10 years since doing Rocky Horror Picture Show and then doing Clue.
Yeah.
And he's got all these movies in between, and I don't know any of them, but there's one that I can't remember him being in. So in 1982, he played Rooster in Annie. I don't remember that.
No. Who was Rooster?
I don't know. But you got to think Rocky Horror wasn't a hit. So from 1975 until he got, this gig in 1985 in Clue with a lot of A-listers at the time. I think they were A-listers. He had to work his way up. So I'd love to see what he was in Annie. He may not have had a great role.
I take it back. Martin Mull was Colonel Mustard. He was not Mr. Blue.
Oh.
Yeah.
Still a great memory.
But 85 was a big year for him because he had Clue. But then, as you mentioned, he did Legend, where he played Darkness. And that was the Tom Cruise movie that came out and this was off my radar. I had no idea that he played that giant horned red devil looking guy.
He had this really good voice too.
All I wish is for you to sit and talk with me.
His voice, I think, is as iconic as his smile.
For sure. And there was so much prosthetics on this character
Yeah.
that you wouldn't know it was Tim Curry if somebody didn't tell you.
Yeah.
He even put on a little bit of an affect on his voice, and it's so good.
Well, that's why he did so much voice work later on in his career. I doubt he's done anything since he had the stroke in 2022. But the other big thing, and I mentioned this last week when we did the mailbag for Sister Michelle, he was the concierge or the hotel manager in Home Alone 2.
That's right. Yeah, and that was a small part.
It was a small but very memorable part.
You're talking about how he did voices. I've seen a bunch of cartoons here. I don't even recognize half of them. So that tells you that he's been working. I mean, I don't know anything new. So he's been working on shit that had to be, come out since my son was young.
Oh, he was doing shit like Phineas and Ferb on Disney Channel. He did Star Wars: The Clone Wars. He did a couple different voices for Star Wars characters on the animated stuff.
Darkwing Duck, the Batman animated series. Yeah.
He did like a robot clown voice in Batman the Animated Series. I was like, what a waste of a great voice.
Did some video game voices. Wing Commander 3. What do you think that pays?
Video game voice? I don't know. They just re-released a version of Final Fantasy VII. And they got like full-on actors. When he was doing video game voices, everything was very pixelated. Everything was, there was no stop motion video in video games back then. Nowadays, they're casting full-on actors to be video captured and do the whole thing. They're doing voicing. They're doing full-on roles. It's a whole different gig nowadays.
There's a lot of cases here where it's a movie that went to TV, like the Jumanji movie. Not Jumanji. You know that Jumanji movie? Jumanji.
Which Jumanji, though? I know the original very well with Robin Williams. I didn't know there was a TV series.
Yeah. So Jumanji came to TV, and he was in that. It says here, the Addams Family Reunion. It was a TV movie. He was
Wow.
in that. Over the Top. Is that Sylvester Stallone's TV series?
Stallone's?
Did they make a TV series of Over the Top? No. So it's a different show called Over the Top. It's totally different.
All right. Another lesser known thing he did was he was a doctor in The Hunt for Red October with Sean Connery. Tom Clancy movie.
I forgot all about that.
Alec Baldwin, and it was a good role for him there as well. We watched that a lot. My dad was a big Tom Clancy fan. But of course, 1990s miniseries Stephen King's It, and Pennywise, the role he played there. I think Tim Curry's Pennywise is a lot better than the current day Skarsgård.
An eternal child.
That little comment you made just got me thinking about something. Skarsgård being in the It movie. You know what we should do?
Yeah.
A surprise game.
A surprise,
A surprise game. An improvised on-the-fly surprise game, because anytime I come to IMDb, I have to go to the trivia section.
Okay.
And as you were talking, I was checking out the trivia section. So we're going to make a game out of it. I'm going to read you a bunch of things. You have to tell me which one is the false item.
All right.
All right. These are all things about Tim Curry from IMDb, which can occasionally get things wrong, but it's the internet, so we know everything I'm about to read is going to be right.
Of course.
All right. The first item I got for you, Scott. Tim Curry was offered the chance to reprise his famous role as Pennywise in It 2017, but turned it down. He later praised Bill Skarsgård as a great choice for the role. True or false?
True.
You are right. Do you know this? He auditioned for the role of Judge Doom in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but was rejected at the audition for being too terrifying. The role instead went to Clue co-star Christopher Lloyd. That's right, he was in that. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
True or false?
That is true. Yeah, I still think Tim Curry would have made an excellent Judge Doom. However, Christopher Lloyd made a fantastic judge. Nothing wrong with that. And as far as it being too terrifying, I mean, Christopher Lloyd's Judge Doom was pretty fucking terrifying too, as I recall. As a kid, I was kind of petrified by that whole thing. When his eyes started rolling back and shit, and he turned into the cartoon character, that was fucked up.
Could have been worse if Tim Curry did it, apparently.
Do you think people thought he was more terrifying having known him as Pennywise?
I don't know, because when it came out, I was 9 or something like that. I remember it being a phenomenon. The older kids saw it, not me.
Yeah.
So I don't know how well he came off from that. Meaning, did he get more famous, or did anybody at that point really know who he was?
Yeah. And the reason, to go back to why I liked his Pennywise better, I thought his Pennywise wasn't as creepy. Like, Skarsgård's Pennywise is like creepy just standing there as a clown. But like, Curry's Pennywise could have just been like a birthday clown, you know? Like, he looked normal except for some jacked up teeth. And that was the most freaky thing about him. The fact that he could have just been like any other clown that just happened to be a demon. That was the coolest thing about his take on that character, I think. It wasn't overtly scary. It was what was under the surface that really just fucked with you. It was more psychological than it was on the surface.
Yeah, I totally agree. And then he turned into that stupid spider, and I was like, I'm
That
out.
spider.
I think it's so ridiculous.
I know. Well, I mean, it was it was 1990, so it was 1980s technology.
All right, let me give you my next one. True or false? Close friends with Carly Simon and sang backing vocals on her 1979 album Spy.
I know nothing about this, but just knowing his voice, I'm sure that he did a lot of singing on his stage days, so I'll say sure.
True. Tim Curry was Tim Burton's second choice for the role of the Joker in Batman 1989. True or false?
I don't know that he had anybody else in mind other than Jack Nicholson, so I'm going to say false.
This says true.
Wow.
He could have been a good Joker.
He could have been. I could have seen him being a good Penguin, too.
I don't know. Danny DeVito. Perfect Penguin.
He was really good. I can't take anything away from him. I mean, I could see Tim Curry, really any role he took on, he really made his own. So much like Judge Doom, I wouldn't have wanted to see it be anybody other than Christopher Lloyd. Penguin, I wouldn't have wanted to see it be anybody other than Danny DeVito. But in another universe, I could see Tim Curry doing amazing things with both those roles.
How about this one? I like it. Was considered for the role of Scar in The Lion King. Clearly didn't get it, right? Because that went to what's
Jeremy
his name?
Irons.
Yeah. And then there's another one down a little bit more. Was considered for the role of Jafar in Aladdin. Well, he didn't get that either. But he must have had a bad run with Disney.
Yeah, did you any Disney movies?
I do not know.
I don't like this trivia. It makes him sound like he was like an also ran. Like just missed it. Missed it by that much.
Yeah, it's crazy to me that he was such a big star, but he'd do almost anything. I mean, this is right here. There's has played John Cleese's brother in Will and Grace and his sister in Over the Garden Wall, whatever that is. But it's like such small stuff. Played the voice of Prince in Garfield, A Tale of Two Kitties. You know, he'll take little jobs. He don't care.
I feel like he does it just for the love of performing. You know what I mean? Like it's not like it was for stardom. It's not that it was. I mean, his entire life, his entire schooling, his entire career has always been just about acting and performing, and that's pretty admirable.
Well, here's my last one. I guess he figured out this isn't really a game. I'm just reading the list to you. So apparently he was working on an album with Lou Adler. So I talked about Lou Adler last time. We talked about Cheech and Chong because Lou Adler was working with Cheech
he was
and Chong.
the director.
Yeah, and he took on the directing role for Up in Smoke.
He had no idea what the fuck he was doing.
Right. Which is why Tommy Chong took over. I just edited that today. That's funny that you say that. By the time this comes out, I should think that the other video about Cheech and Chong is out. So go look for that on YouTube. Anyway, it says here, however, only 4 of the songs were completed. The best is a cover of the Supremes' Baby Love. Also recorded 3 albums for A&M Records. Ready My Lips in 1978, Fearless in 1979, and Simplicity in 1981, though only one charting song, I Do the Rock. Is that the song? I Do the Rock?
First of all, Ready My Lips. That's a weird title. And then I Do the Rock?
You know, maybe it's Read My Lips and somebody spelled Read Ready. I don't know. Yeah, that is a dumb title.
Oh, that could be. Either way, not great. I'm glad he was a better actor than he was a songbird.
Yeah, it seemed like a cool guy. He's one of them guys in Hollywood I actually root for.
Yeah, absolutely. Like him. You know what? I feel like Paul Giamatti's like a present day Tim Curry.
That's not bad.
They would get the same kind of roles, you know? That's where I'm coming from with that.
Doing one of our total jump to the left moments. See what I did there?
It's just a jump to the left.
Cutaway moments that we do, or non sequitur moments, if you will. I just saw today that the game Warzone that our buddy loves to tell us to play all the time, Call of Duty Warzone, to me, it's just an arcade game. It's super fast. You shoot somebody, there's a score over their head. I don't like those kind of games anymore, but they're doing something fun with it. They're basically putting celebrities in or characters in. So I just read today that Cheech and Chong is going to be in the game. So they're the next downloadable skins. So you can run around as Cheech or Chong.
That's not even original. That's what they do for Fortnite all the time. They put in like Batman or they put in, you know, Eminem. Like they're always putting like famous people and characters and celebrities in Fortnite. So now Call of Duty's just copying off of that.
Completely.
That's weak.
Oh, this Warzone game is a complete copy of Fortnite, and it's free. And it does the whole loot crate thing. That's why I won't play it. It's a kid's game.
So I thought that Warzone was a whole different game. This is actually part of the Call of Duty universe?
Yeah, they were losing too much money to Fortnite, so they were like, we better create something that can compete. So they cloned it.
Oh. I had no idea. Yeah, I'm out of that game, but...
Yeah.
Oh, I had another mailbag. Brother Mumbo, who wrote into us a couple weeks ago.
Mumbo
wanted to say to us, you guys know Badlands is a video game, right?
Oh, yeah, we
I
know.
said, yeah, we talked about that. I said, we don't really... I've never played it. I don't think you ever played it. We mentioned that a few episodes back, but when we talked about it being a preview before the Ghostbusters movie last week, he basically said he was screaming at his radio saying, like, it's a video game. You know it's a video game, right? I was like, hey, thanks for playing along.
I did actually play it. I think it was one of the games I got from LimeWire or BitTorrent or whatever I was using for the Dreamcast. I think I played it on the Dreamcast. And I remember going, hey, it's kind of neat. The cell animation style is kind of fun, but you know, at some point you got to stop. It's just like this Warzone. At some point, you got to stop just playing these same old games. It's the same old experience.
We've gone quite a ways away from our dear friend Tim Curry here. So I'll close out this segment. That's what I got. Amy, I hope that satisfies your ask for a Tim Curry focused episode. Move on to the news.
All right, we've been talking about that guy, Nelson Peltz. Nelson Peltz, he's the guy that's not happy with the way that Disney is being run. He's the guy that's trying to get on the board. He's really been in the news a lot lately. He thinks Disney has gone too woke, and he's going to go in there and teach Bob Iger how things should be run. Well, he was getting close to getting in there. He was getting support from some.
What I heard.
Yeah, he was getting support from a lot of groups, basically analysts who were like, "We agree, get rid of Bob Iger, and it should perform better for all of you who have holdings with Disney." So it wasn't looking so great for a hot minute until Wednesday. The vote finally was passed, and Nelson Peltz did not get in. Yep. So that fight is over.
I mean, I'm not sad to hear that. I mean, he's a money guy. We talk all the time on here. There's money guys and there's creative guys. And maybe you don't agree with the creative guys, but it doesn't mean that a money guy is the answer. Maybe another creative guy is the answer.
One of the things that I thought was the funniest, and I'm reading this on a website called That Park Place, so it seems to be about Disney, but it's clearly from the couple articles I read, it's one of those Disney went woke, I hate them type of sites, but that's what I'm reading right now. So there's a link to a PowerPoint presentation that Disney put together, right? So as this vote was coming closer, they wanted to get the message out. I'm going to share this PowerPoint with you. Take a look at this.
I like me some PowerPoints. The only thing better than PowerPoints are some graphs on Excel.
All right, so you know it's Disney. You know they got some of the best artists in the world, so you know you're going to get, a pretty dense, a pretty thought-provoking presentation here. So the very first slide, all it says...
Dude, this is a 4-slide PowerPoint that just says, "Oh, Nelson." Are you fucking kidding me?
Oh, Nelson. That's slide 1. You ready for slide 2?
I guess.
Legal disclaimers. This is where the lawyers put all their tiny print, right? Don't want to read any of this. It actually hurts my eyes. Ready for the third slide?
Yeah.
All right. Now, this is the meat of the presentation. This is everything. Obviously, you guys can't see this, but it is a slide that any amateur could make. There's a actual picture of Peltz in here, like a drawing of him. I think they took it from a newspaper.
Not a good one either.
Not a good one.
This is not flattering at all.
This is like, my first thought was, a Disney artist drew that? That's so embarrassing for Disney. I don't know where this picture came from.
Oh my God.
So all this slide says at the top is Nelson Peltz demonstrates again how ill-equipped he is to serve on the Disney board. So it goes on with a couple quotes. Things Peltz actually said to a journalist profiling him for the Financial Times. On Marvel's unparalleled success, he says, "I'm not ready to say that Kevin Feige should be fired, but I question his record." Right? They put that on here. Like, this is a defense. Oh my God, he said what? Right? Then he goes on to say, why do I have to have a Marvel that's all women? Not that I have anything against women, but why do I have to have that? So there he's talking about the failure of the Marvels. He talks about...
I knew that quote.
Yeah, he talks about Wakanda Forever. He talks about Black Panther. Why do I need an all-black cast? So basically, he's saying, why do I need it? I want a good story. Why do I need this stuff? But I don't know enough about this guy's real political agenda. I don't care. So they kind of take those words and use them against him. And then it's just a couple other chumpy bullets.
I love this last one here, though. What sense is being a billionaire if you're not a bully? What a dickhead.
You like that?
No, I think this guy's a dickhead.
I can read quotes like that. You got to see him in context. Like maybe he's doing a stand-up routine and making fun of himself.
This was a quote that on allegations of him being a bully, that was his response.
Yeah, I'm going to look into that more. Why the fuck did he say that? What an idiot. So anyway, the bullets say, imagine the damage Peltz would do in a Disney boardroom with these perspectives. Next bullet, Disney believes several things should be abundantly clear to shareholders after reading Peltz's lunch with the Financial Times. Peltz, including his silent partner Ike Perlmutter, remember that guy? He was the guy that used to run the thing. So I didn't know that they were together. Peltz and Perlmutter, another fucking name I can't say, would harm Disney and jeopardize our strategic transformation. What are they talking about there? It says in the next bullet, Peltz brings no additive skills to the board, doesn't understand our business, and has no plans to create shareholder value. couple more bullets, then we're done, I promise. One of Peltz's ideas is to establish bureaucratic board-led review of creative processes and structure. And then Disney's comment is, the surest way to impede our creative progress is oversight from an 81-year-old hedge fund manager with no creative experience. I mean, Disney wrote this.
He's a money guy, like I said. That's exactly what I'm saying.
And then the last bullet here to defend against Peltz. Kevin Feige has an unparalleled track record at Marvel, generating $30 billion in global box office, making him the highest grossing producer of all time. All right, so that's their side, right? Peltz didn't really have a strong argument. He had stupid statements. When I looked at this, I was like, this is the weakest PowerPoint presentation to something so important. It's almost like somebody put it together in an hour. You know, it was just insane to me.
Bill, I put together a PowerPoint this afternoon that was 12 slides, and I did it in 15 minutes, and it was head and shoulders above anything I'm seeing here.
Wow.
I know this isn't great content for an audio show, but trust me, it's fucking bad.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk about Netflix.
You know, of all the services I'm subscribed to, Netflix is the one that I don't even click on the button.
Oh, I love that you said that. Because Netflix is now entering its Dan Lin era. What does that mean? As Lin starts his new post running the industry's most money-to-film division, plenty of questions linger, including if the veteran executive will finally execute the streamer's much-talked-about, quote, fewer and better filmmaking strategy. So they're on the same page as you. They're like, we got too much shit and it all sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, and I really feel like I just can't find anything I really want to watch when I do click on there. It's almost overwhelming. I hear great things about that Poor Things movie with the Emma Stone in there. I hear great things about that. I think that's theirs, but I don't even know what's theirs anymore. And there's some things that I think is Netflix, and it's actually over on Prime, and it's like, wow, what a fall from Netflix that they're being confused, by me at least, for Prime Video.
I like this paragraph here. Lin was not looking for a new job, but then came an incoming call in early February from Netflix's chief content officer, Bella Bajaria. According to two people familiar with the meeting that followed, Lin was blunt in his assessment of Netflix's output. The movies were not great, and the financials didn't add up. Bajaria appreciated the honesty and, shortly after, kicked him in the balls. No, shortly after, she asked Lin if he would be open to leaving Rideback, right? So he already has a production studio called Rideback.
Okay.
So I dug in, what's Rideback? I wasn't familiar with it. So as you go through their website, it highlights movies like the live-action Aladdin is shown here, the Lego Batman Justice League stuff is shown here.
Okay.
Oh, the new Avatar, the Netflix Avatar that came out. So they're associated with that. That's probably how they got the relationship with Netflix.
Oh, The Last Airbender. Okay. I was thinking Blue People. Okay.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, some more Lego stuff as I scroll.
Is it a computer production company? Is that what this is?
You know, I got to be honest with you. I don't really know what these are. There's plenty of them. They're production houses. It's like they make the movies or they put money into the movies or they do research to raise money for movies. I have no idea.
Well, it doesn't much matter because he's leaving that to head Netflix there, huh?
Well, it says he's keeping some interest still in his old gig,
Okay.
but yeah, he's going to give it a run. He's going to try to turn Netflix around because I'm with you, man. I'm with you. I don't go to it anymore. I know I'm not going to find anything I want.
Yeah. Hulu and Disney and YouTube are pretty much my three apps that I use the most on my television.
All right, here's one more item before we close it up. 2024, Scott, hasn't been a great year for movies, especially for the blockbusters. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can think of that's doing great is Godzilla X Kong. Is that the one?
Read my mind, sir. So apparently this movie destroyed in China. China loves this movie. So Hollywood finally has a hit.
I think I sent you an article about the Godzilla Kong movie because we were talking last week about how Ghostbusters for the first weekend did like 45 million, and we were like, is that good? Is that a lot? I don't know. It sounds small now that I say it, but like I sent you an article that Godzilla Kong did like more than double that in their opening weekend. I was like, well, I guess that puts Ghostbusters in perspective, huh?
Yeah, I just don't understand. This movie looks awful. People loved it. I thought you'd laugh at that because I was knocking it last time.
Yeah, well, it also caused this Ghostbusters to have a 65% drop from week 1 to week 2, which is the biggest drop for any Ghostbusters movie of the 5 in the canon franchise. So, yeah, it ain't doing much more.
Do you think this is fatigue in not just Ghostbusters, but 80s retro content coming back like this?
I do.
I just saw something the other day that it pissed me off because it was like, well, here's Beetlejuice coming out. Like, that's another example. But I just read something else that they're going to try to do. It went right out of my head. But it was another one of those, come on, don't do that. Leave it where it was.
I read that they're doing another animated Transformers cartoon for the 40th anniversary.
Why?
Too much.
Nobody watched any of the last 12 cartoons that Transformers tried to put out.
And to answer your question, we did a tribute to your wife here with the Tim Curry. We'll do a tribute to my wife. She said to me, I think for the podcast, I think a lot of 80s stuff and 80s nostalgia, I think there's just too much of a saturated market out there and people just, it's everywhere. So I don't want to say we shifted our focus. We'll talk about 80s stuff on here and 90s stuff and retro stuff. But to her point, she was like, yeah, I don't know that people care as much as what they used to or maybe what we do. So I don't know. Because what we liked about that and the nostalgia that they tried to basically use to sell us new shit, we don't care at all about the new shit.
Right.
So there's definitely a disconnect between what was and what is coming out with the same name. And that's a problem. And it's just going to keep deteriorating and really take away from the impact that the original content really had. That's my feelings anyway.
No, I think you're totally right. And it sucks for us. But they're so sure that they can reignite these franchises. Has it ever worked? I don't remember anything getting... Maybe the Brady Bunch franchise got reignited for a hot minute when they made the Brady Bunch movie and everybody liked it. And then all of a sudden it was like, let's do the Beverly Hillbillies. Let's do, everything they tried to... And it's like they never stopped just trying to remake our childhood stuff. The thing that I just said, I just read something the other day and I couldn't remember what it was. Just came to me. It was Thundercats. And I'm like, I don't think Thundercats will play well today. So if you're going to make it for the old fan base and hopefully the new kids, I don't think you're going to be able to attract the old fan base. I just don't think you're going to be able to do it because you're not going to be better than what we fell in love with in the 80s.
Yeah, I think you're right. I will say this, though. Not what am I watching, but what am I listening to? I did listen to Will and his crew over there at 1980s Now this past week, and they did a Roadhouse 1989 versus Roadhouse 2024. And while they all preferred Swayze's version better, Gyllenhaal one sounds like it might be worth checking out, so I might watch that for next week. They did a really good episode this past week about the Roadhouses.
Roadhouse.
Yeah, I saw it sitting there on Amazon Prime, and I'm like, nope. I'm not going to do it. I don't want to be upset.
I thought about you when I heard it. I was like, I don't know, Bill. Sounds pretty interesting, but...
Is there a bar in it? Is there at least a bar? All I ever see the little commercials and trailers, like some UFC cage. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, there's a bar, but it's not the Double Deuce. Nothing's as good as the Double Deuce with the chicken wire.
No. All right, you watch it. If it's good, I'll watch it.
All right, man.
How about we kick this pig and wrap it up?
All right. Everybody, thanks for listening. And tell a friend. Let's keep growing this thing. Maybe we'll see you on YouTube one day. But until then, you got us here. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next week.
I hope you all enjoyed my silky smooth voice.
Frankly, Scarlett, I didn't give a damn.
Have a lovely day.